Welcome back, everybody. This is Magic with Randy. I am Randy, and today we're talking about the BNR announcement that's coming up here on March 31st. That is just a few days away when this comes out. I'm going over what I think should be banned in the respective formats, mostly just going over standard as well as modern, and what cards I think might be able to get unbanned in modern as well. Here in just a couple seconds, we'll go over all that fun jazz. As always, guys, if you like what you're seeing, you like what I'm doing, you like to listen to me talk and chat, I would love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out, and let me know what you think is going to get banned here on the 31st of March. Love to hear from you guys. Alright, starting off with standard, we have what I call all or nothing. So I'll go over the respective cards here. So the first one, which I think is on everyone's mind, Monstrous Rage, kind of a card that has suitably banned blocking in standard. It just kind of makes it to where, you can't block effectively against the red aggressive decks, whether that's mono red, Gruul, or Boros aggro. Just whatever one kind of has stopped what's going on. There's been a bunch of people talking about this lately. Even Brian Kibler did a video about how Monstrous Rage probably is too powerful in the standard format as a whole. Same thing with a couple of other cards he talked about as well. But I do think Monstrous Rage is one of those cards that could definitely eat a ban. That being said, I do think there's a couple of other cards that have to go if we ban Monstrous Rage, at least in my opinion personally. But Monstrous Rage is definitely a card I could see getting banned. I think that if Wizards does do anything with a standard, they're going to ban a couple cards or they're going to ban nothing. That's kind of why I've kind of categorized it, all or nothing essentially. So outside of Monstrous Rage, we also have Up the Beanstalk. This is kind of a card that has perpetually kept Domain being viable. It's definitely a card I think deserves to get banned. It's gotten banned, in modern originally. Card is super powerful. Obviously, I think that Wizards didn't think this card is going to be nearly as much of a powerhouse as it is. That being said, though, I do think it is time to see Up the Beanstalk take a ban. If we're going to be banning Monstrous Rage, I also would like to hit the Domain deck so it doesn't just kind of like gain a lot of traction and being, probably one of the best decks you can be playing in the format currently, with that type of thing going on. And then as well, I have This Town Ain't Big Enough. We've kind of seen Esper take off and do super well. Obviously, it didn't do that well at the Pro Tour, but it also had probably the biggest target on its head compared to anything else that was going on around. So that's kind of why, we saw it not do too well. We had every deck metagaming against it, and it still had almost a 50% win rate. It's definitely a powerful deck as a whole. But I do think that we're going to ban any one of these cards in standard. I think Wizards is going to have to ban all three, and I think that's going to be the correct move going forward, is either ban all of them or nothing. Though I do personally have a different take on what we can ban in the red deck. I think that we could just ban Manifold Mouse. This is one of those things where it's very innocuous. It doesn't seem super powerful until you have to play against it and realize that, giving your creature double strike or trample, or offspringing it, giving your creature double strike and trample is just really good. Being able to trigger Valorant just for free, essentially no mana investment, is really good. I think this is another card we could think about banning. It also makes Monstrous Rage not such a backbreaker when you have to give your creature double strike and like, oh, attack my 2/2 double strike. And you're like, yeah, you have Monstrous Rage too, don't you? So I think this is one of those one or the others that we could ban, either Manifold Mouse or Monstrous Rage for the red decks. I would like to see Up the Beanstalk ban, as well as This Town Ain't Big Enough, if that's the route we're going. I personally think, though, that Wizards isn't going to ban anything in standard, but I do think they're going to have to start normalizing bannings in standard with how large they're making the standard format as a whole. It's kind of gotten to this point now, where they want 6 set releases a year. That's just, we're going to have a lot more cards in standard than what we're normally used to. So I think they're going to have to try to kind of normalize that, or get used to the idea of normalizing it. But let me know what you think about standard. Do you think anything's getting banned, or do you think it's just going to be smooth sailing, or does Monstrous Rage really need to go and nothing else? Love to hear from you guys. All right, into modern. What needs to be gone? Mox Opal. Gotta let it go. No. Realistically, Underworld Breach is a card that needs to go, I think, out of the format. I do think Wizards could go ahead and reban Mox Opal, but I think that would do more harm than good. With them rebanning Mox Opal, it's going to have people have a lot of less trust in Wizards of the Coast. People have spent a lot of money on Mox Opals recently. That being said, I think the card's going to drop in some amount of value. as a whole once Underworld Breach gets banned, but I do think that Mox Opal is one of those cards where you can't really put it back into the ban list just quite yet. We need to see it do something else. Underworld Breach is also a card that's always just, one or two cards away from being broken, as we kind of saw here, where it took a essentially like tier 2 deck into a tier 0 deck because Mox Opal finally got unbanned and the deck just became super powerful. So I do think that Underworld Breach is probably the card that needs to go out of the format. A lot of people are arguing, Mox Opal is something that we could have rebanned. I think that would do more harm than good, at least from Wizards' perspective, for rebanning a card that just got unbanned. And it sets a bad precedent for like trying to unban the other cards. So I think Mox Opal is probably pretty safe, but I do think Underworld Breach is, had its time in the sun. It needs to go. At least one of these two cards has to go to at least make Modern remotely healthy as a whole, or at least playable. Because if they don't ban either one of these, it's just going to be, I think, a shit show going forward. But Wizards has let me down before, so I'm prepared. That being said, I also think it's time to let Amulet Vigor go as well. I think that as the years keep going on, Amulet Vigor or Amulet Titan keeps getting better and better. It's just gotten to where it's a super powerful deck. I think it needs to have something taken out of it to where it's not just completely busted. I might be a vocal minority in this, but in my opinion, this is a deck that has, dodged numerous bannings essentially. And all because, it's quote too hard to play, but we keep seeing that number going up higher and higher. People playing the deck, I think it's time for it to have something hit from it and kind of weaken back down to a normal power level. That's also just personally my opinion. Let me know if you guys think that Amulet Titan needs to get hit or not. But I do think Underworld Breach is what needs to go out of the format and kind of like make it healthy again. Mainly because with Underworld Breach gone, I don't think Mox Opal is anywhere near too powerful for the format. Unironically speaking, it is kind of hard to have that Metalcraft turned on early on. So like it's not doing anything super powerful, but we'll see. Maybe Mox Opal is still a problem after Underworld Breach goes. And here in a couple months, we'll be going, man, they should have banned Mox Opal. That was a real problem child. I can't say for sure, but I do think as a whole, everyone can kind of agree that Mox Opal, Underworld Breach has to go. I think Amulet Vigor needs to go, or at least something out of the Titan deck needs to go to kind of drop it back down a little bit in power level, just as a whole. But outside that, I don't think there's anything really crazy or anything we really need to have banned out of the modern format. I think that really is just the Underworld Breach deck that is gone. Too crazy is essentially a tier 0 deck. That is definitely a problem we need to answer. So I just think after that, we kind of need to let the dust settle. I also think Wizards really needs to get away from these scheduled BNRs and just kind of go back to where something's a problem, we're going to ban it type situation instead of doing these scheduled things and letting something run on for so long. We've now seen multiple problems with the scheduled BNR announcement. We just need to get it done and over with. Axe it, it's not a good thing. Let's go back to where we were just doing bannings when they needed to have happen so we can keep the format healthy instead of letting it drag on for no reason, basically. But I think that's really anything I can say about modern needing to be fixed. Everyone kind of knows the problems. Everyone kind of knows the card that needs to go. We'll see what Wizards ultimately ends up doing, though. What I would like to see come back, though, into the modern format, these are cards that have been banned already or are currently on the ban list, and I would like to see them come back into the format. There's not really a particular order in the cards I did for this. These are the things I think definitely could come back and not affect the format in too much of a negative light, and could maybe even give some options for some other decks. First one being Mystic Sanctuary. I think this card got kind of banned more so because of Uro and Field of the Dead was going on. They also picked up Mystic Sanctuary in that little time when they banned all those cards, and I don't think Mystic Sanctuary is necessarily a problem in the format. I think we can unban this and it can come back and be fine. Uro allowed you to do kind of like cryptic loops with Mystic Sanctuary. We no longer have Uro to draw a card, put a land into play, things like that. We're using cryptic to counter, pick our Mystic Sanctuary, attack or play Uro, put Mystic Sanctuary back, put a card on top, things like that. We're not, having all these things again. So I think just Mystic Sanctuary by itself would be fine in the format. And it's something I would like to see back. I think it would be pretty good to go. Obviously, let me know if you think I'm just out wildly crazy with that idea. I would like to see this card have a chance without Uro kind of breaking it, essentially. The next one is Violent Outburst. I think this card got banned too early, or kind of got banned. Like, Violent Outburst got banned, then we had MH3 come out. I would have liked to see how the Rhinos held up against, MH3 cards with actually a good instant speed cascade spell. So I would like to see this card back. I don't think Rhinos would be too oppressive in the format by any means. I also think it would be nice to have Living End be a viable deck again. Things like that. I would like to see this, kind of come back into the format. I also have a personal bias because I really like Rhinos, and I have these Violent Outbursts personally, and I really want to play with my kitties again. But that being said, I think this is something that can legitimately come back. I think it got banned ahead of its time. I would have liked to see what MH3 would have brought to the table and how Rhinos would have interacted before we banned Violent Outbursts. I think it was too soon to call, in my opinion. I am a little biased, and will admit to that. But, let me know what you guys think. Am I just crazy, or is this a good idea? And then the last one is Ponder. So for the longest time, I had argued that if Red could have Faithless Looting, why can't Blue have Ponder? Red got Faithless Looting back. I would like to have Ponder back for Blue. I think that we could get this back into the format very easily. I don't think it's going to break any decks by any means. And Blue decks having consistency is not a bad thing, despite what anyone would like to say. I know the biggest argument against Ponder for the longest time was it's going to make Storm way too good. Storm is now firmly set as a mono red deck splashing, white, essentially. Storm's not picking up Ponder in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that that's even a contention anymore. I think we can have Ponder back in the format. It would be good for the format as a whole. These are just some of the cards I think would be great to have back into the format. Let me know what your guys' opinions of that are, what you think is could see unbanned. And then real quick, anyone who would like to comment that Deathrite Shaman can get unbanned has never played with Deathrite Shaman. I'm thoroughly convinced there's a reason why that card is banned. It is a 1-mana Planeswalker. It will also warp the format. People seem to think that, Deathrite Shaman is going to go into like these decks that play black and green, or like Yawgmoth might pick it up, or at worst, Catcher Most will pick it up. Every deck will play that card. Every deck. Blue-Black Fog will immediately play that card and start splashing a green land or two to be able to activate its other ability to eat creatures. Anything that can play that card will play it. It will just be in every single deck. So no, we're not. I don't see Wizards ever unbanning Deathrite Shaman. I think that's a terrible idea to unban. I just keep seeing people talk about that a lot, and I don't know why. I think that they just haven't played with that card. They've played with it in Pioneer, where it's absolutely trash because you don't have fetch lands. Once you have fetch lands to the mix, it just becomes a 1-mana Planeswalker, in the sense of it can win the game by itself and mana ramps every deck, despite the a lot of colors not having mana ramp for a reason. It's just super powerful, and it becomes these weird board lock states when you both play a Deathrite Shaman. It also gets a lot of more feel bads, where early game matters way more, because it's, you go turn 1, play Deathrite Shaman, they now have to answer either with a Fatal Push, removal spell, if they play Deathrite of their own on turn 1, and you just go, cool, Fatal Push, use Deathrite, eat land, have 3 mana worth of stuff on turn 2 still, is just ridiculous. So just a little PSA, just Deathrite Shaman's not coming back. I don't care what you guys say. I will adamantly argue that Deathrite Shaman shouldn't come back, but these are the cards I think should come back, or could come back, at least in my opinion. There's not a huge long list. I think a lot of cards that are on the ban list are good just to keep on there, or cards that don't add any value at all. Like, I think we could bring back Second Sunrise, for example. I think that deck could be trash, but there's no reason to bring it back because no one's clamoring for it. It's not going to add anything to the format. Things like that, like where, there's some other ones I can't think of at this second that could come back or they wouldn't do anything, but there's no reason to add them to the format because they're just not going to do anything anyway. But these are the cards I'd like to see come back. I think it would be fun and interesting. Let me know how crazy my ideas are, and let me know what you guys think is going to happen at the BNR here on March 31st. I'd love to hear you guys down in the comments. I'll catch you guys next time.